In this video, we will show you how to replace your front brake pads and rotors on this Lincoln Navigator. You will have these behind your front wheels. Let's get into it. Okay friends, let's get started on our job. The first thing you need to do is safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once you've done that, we're going to continue on to removing our center cover. On the center cover, you're going to find that you have a notch cut out where you can use a plastic trim tool and carefully remove it. We'll give this a quick inspection and set it aside. Once you've done that, continue on to removing each of your 5 21mm lug nuts and then the wheel. Alright friends, at this point, let's continue on to pushing back our caliper. We're going to do that by using a small pry bar in between each of these slots. You'll find that the caliper has 2 pistons behind it. Once you have movement from there, we'll continue on to our 2 caliper slider bolts. To remove these, we'll use a T45 Torx bit, shaped like a star. Remove, clean, and inspect your hardware. Replace it as necessary. With both of those out of there, we can start removing the caliper from the bracket. To do this, we're going to pull along the top here and pull it away. Once you have this pulled away, you can lift it up and off. Once you have that off of there, the next thing you want to do is finish pushing in your pistons the rest of the way. As you do this, it's a good idea to make sure that you push in both of the pistons at the same time. If you do one at a time, it'll end up forcing the other out. Once the pistons are fully compressed, inspect the area. Make sure you don't see any damage and no fluid. If you see any fluid, it's probably brake fluid, in which case you'd have to replace the caliper. Assuming that looks good, hang this aside, putting no pressure on your flex hose. Remove both of your brake pads from the area. Even though you're replacing them, it's a good idea to take a peek at them. See if it looks like they're worn at an angle. Once the brake pads are out of there, we'll continue on to removing the bracket from the steering knuckle. For this, you'll find that you have 2 18mm headed bolts. We'll remove the pair, starting with the top one. Once I have it out, I'll give it a quick inspection and then install it just a couple threads. Remove your bracket, give it a quick inspection, and set that aside. Remove the brake rotor. Once you have that out of the way, it's important to make sure you clean up the mating surface of the wheel bearing where your brand new rotor will sit. Use some parts cleaner and a wire brush and clean it up. We'll use some copper never sees. Now let's make our way back over to the caliper. You'll find on the caliper that you have 2 slider pins that are hidden behind their boot. Let's push out each of these pins, clean them, inspect them, and lubricate them. While you have the slider pin out of there, it's a good idea to clean and inspect the boots as well. Make sure they're still soft and pliable and they're not torn, worn, or damaged in any way. I'll take a rag, give it a couple twists, and slide it right on through the boot. Once you have the rag through there, just go ahead and wipe out the inside. After you have the boot and the slider pin clean, we'll lubricate the slider pin itself, making sure that we get into the grooves on each side of it. Now we can put this into the boot. While I start pushing this through, I'll pause, use a little bit of my high temperature caliper lubricant, and come right inside the center area of the boot here. Finish pushing this down and through, and line up the boot with the grooves. Once you've done one, do the exact same thing to the other. Now that we've done both slider pins, we'll continue with the high temperature caliper lubricant and come along the metal aspect of each of the caliper pistons. Once you've done that, continue on to each of the 3 forward ears. By adding lubricant in these areas, it'll help with vibration dampening and noise reduction. Now we can move along to the caliper bracket. You'll find that you have 2 tins on it, and they look different from each other. Keep note of which tin goes where, because as you remove these, clean it up, you're going to have to put on new tins, and you want to make sure that you have the corresponding one in the right place. The next thing that you'll want to do is clean up the area where the tins were. You want to make sure that it's a nice clean surface, so when you put the brand new tins and pads on here, they can move freely. You can use some sandpaper or a wire brush for this. After that's clean, we'll use a little bit more of that high temperature caliper lubricant and clean the areas where the brand new tins will go. Continue on to installing the tins. As I had mentioned, you want to make sure that you put the proper tin in the area that it belongs. We'll press that on as far as it can go. Make sure it's completely secured. Do the same to the other side. All right, let's prepare for the installation of our brand new brake rotor. Start by cleaning the braking surfaces. Install your rotor on the vehicle and hold it in place with one of your lug nuts. Now it's time to install our caliper bracket. Put put this in place, aligning both of your bolt holes, start in each of your mounting bolts, bottom them out, torque them to 136 foot-pounds. Now it's time to install our front brake pads. You'll find in the kit, 2 of them have a wear indicator. Find the proper pad that makes it so the outer pad has the wear indicator along the top. Slide this into place. As you put in your brake pads, make sure that they can still move around freely. If they do not, that means you did not clean the bracket well enough. Now it's time to reinstall our caliper onto the bracket. You'll find along the outer ear of the caliper, it has a little tab that protrudes outward, and that needs to fit over the bracket itself. So we'll bring this in coming at an angle, slide it down into the proper position, and then we can continue on by rolling the top into position as well. Once you feel as though you have that in place, continue on to your slider bolts, snug them up, torque them to 26 foot-pounds. Remove your lug nut. Now at this point, we can reinstall the wheel. Start on all 5 of your 21mm lug nuts and snug them up. Once all of your lug nuts are snug, put your wheel back down on the ground. Torque each of the lug nuts to 150 foot-pounds. Torqued. Install your center cover. Okay friends, we showed you how to do one side of your front brakes. The process will be the exact same thing on the other side of the vehicle. Aside from that, make your way into the passenger compartment, pump up the brake pedal till it's nice and firm. Take it for a road test, make sure you don't hear any funny noises. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.